President Donald Trump has threatened to withdraw the U.S. from the World Trade Organization, WTO, claiming the body treats America unfairly. "If they don't shape up, I would withdraw from the WTO," Mr. Trump said in an interview with Bloomberg News. The WTO was established to provide rules for global trade and resolve disputes between countries. Mr. Trump says the body too often rules against the U.S., although he concedes it has won some recent judgments. He claimed on Fox News earlier this year that the WTO was set up to benefit everybody but us, adding, "We lose the lawsuits, almost all of the lawsuits in the WTO." However, some analysis shows the U.S. wins about 90% when it is the complainant and loses about the same percentage when it is complained about. Mr. Trump's warning about a possible U.S. pullout from the organization highlights the conflict between the president's protectionist trade policies and the open trade system that the WTO oversees. U.S.-China trade row: what has happened so far? Is Trump the WTO's biggest threat? Is Trump right about the trade? Meanwhile, Washington has recently been blocking the election of new judges to the WTO's dispute settlement system, which could potentially paralyze its ability to issue judgments. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer has also accused the WTO of interfering with U.S. sovereignty. What's Trump's issue with the WTO? The U.S. president has been sounding off about the unfair trade since even before he became president. Mr. Trump said on Thursday that the 1994 agreement to establish the WTO was the single worst trade deal ever made. The U.S. has been embroiled in a tit-for-tat trade battle on several fronts in recent months. The one creating the most interest is the one with China, as the world's two largest economies wrangle for global influence. Mr. Trump has introduced tariffs on a number of goods imported into the U.S. Early victims of Trump's trade war. What is a trade war and should I worry? 6 ways China could retaliate in a trade war. The third round of tariffs on $200 billion, £154 billion, of Chinese goods could come as soon as a public comment period concludes next week, according to a Bloomberg report citing various sources. Asked to confirm this during the Bloomberg interview, President Trump said that it was not totally wrong. China has responded to U.S. tariffs by imposing retaliatory taxes on the same value of U.S. products and has filed complaints against the tariffs at the WTO. China's Commerce Ministry has said it clearly suspects the U.S. of violating WTO rules. An initial complaint at the WTO was filed by China in July after Mr. Trump imposed his first round of tariffs. The WTO is at the heart of the system of rules for international trade. It is the forum for sorting disputes between countries about breaches of global trade rules, and it is the forum for negotiating new trade liberalization. What about other trade deals? On Monday, Mr. Trump announced that the U.S. and Mexico had agreed to revamp the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, calling it a really good deal that was much more fair for both countries. He had previously threatened to pull out of the deal, triggering a year of talks, and demanded a renegotiation of the 1994 agreement, which he blames for a decline in U.S. manufacturing jobs, especially in the car industry. The clock is ticking for Canada in U.S. trade negotiations. What is NAFTA? Canada, the third member of NAFTA, is yet to agree to the new terms. On Thursday, Mr. Lighthizer held talks in Washington with Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland aimed at reaching a new deal. Following 4 separate meetings, which continued late into the night, Ms. Freeland told reporters that a deal could not be reached, adding that talks would resume on Friday. Mr. Trump has set Friday as the deadline for Canada to sign an agreement and has threatened to tax the country's automotive sector or cut it out entirely. President Donald Trump